Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live Q&A. I'm Fiona Lukes. If you're new to me and my work, I run a live Q&A every Friday at around 1:30, depending on how well technology is working. And so today I'm here to answer any relationship or life questions you have. I like to keep this pretty open and fluid so that if you have a question or something that you want to know more about, you can jump on and ask me anything that you like. So this is your opportunity to ask anything about anything. I have been doing this work now for 13 years. I've been in private practice. I've been specializing in the relationship space for that entire time. And, I've worked with any and every type of relationship you can possibly imagine. I have worked with it. So I have a lot of experience, and I really started these to be able to serve, give back, to see whatever I can do to make life easier for people. I know, based on what I see with my students and clients, that our relationships are fundamental to our well-being. They are the foundation of every single area in our life. There is nothing in your life that you are not in relationship with. Nothing. You are in relationship with you. You are in relationship with the world. You are in relationship with others. It is your relationships and the quality of your relationships that absolutely determine the quality of your life. They really, really are. When you are at a point where your relationships feel easy and simple and they're flowing, your entire life changes. Now, I can definitively say this because I have literally seen this thousands and thousands of times with my clients. So, I know that it can be one of those things where there can be a bit of shame around getting help, where people seem to have this narrative that they should know how to do it on their own. And of course, it is really hard to work some of this stuff out on your own sometimes. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you aren't great with your emotions. It's not because you're missing something. It's just that there is nothing like our relationships to bring out our frailties. Nothing like it. Okay. And so it's easy to get lost. It's easy to get bogged down in lots of overthinking, what's happened in the past, worrying about the future, thinking about compatibility, all this stuff that really gets in the way of people connecting. So I'm really here to show you that you can simplify all of it. You don't need to worry about all of that stuff. There's a complete other way of showing up to this, and anybody can do it. It does not matter what your past is. It does not matter if you had a difficult childhood. Maybe your parents didn't show you, the greatest of examples. If that's your story, I want you to know it doesn't matter. Honestly, it does not matter. What I teach you is something that is a universal truth for all human beings, and all you need to be is a human being to understand it, see it, grasp it, and live your life from this place. And I can give you story after story after story to show you just how true that is. Okay, so this is something I really want you to know. If you're listening and you've had a traumatic past, I want you to know it does not mean that you can't be great at relationships. It does not mean that right now, in this moment, as you move forward, that can't be completely different for you. I really want you to know that. There is a whole myth out there that our past determines how we move forward, and that our past somehow means that we are damaged in some way, that we can never recover, that it's impossible for us to get over that. And I promise you that is not true. It is not true. That is a myth. That is an illusion. You can absolutely move forward without the shadow of the past hanging over in your now. I really want you to know that. And I have seen this play out many, 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 many times with my clients. Okay. And I can tell you how freeing it is for them to have that, deeply have that realization and know that it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. That does not mean that you can't do relationships well, that you can't find joy, well-being, happiness, peace of mind, clarity, calm, all those things that people are actually looking for in the now. And you absolutely can. That is your birthright, and it is available to everybody. So this is a big thing that I want people to know. All you need, the only prerequisite you need for this is to be a human being. That's it. Doesn't matter if you're male or female, how old you are, what your culture, religious background, doesn't matter. Okay? This is something that is universally true. And something that is universally true is something that helps everybody, regardless of the past, regardless of their circumstances. So I want you to know that that is what is possible for you, okay? No matter what's happened, that's what's possible for you. Hey, Carly, nice to see you, honey. So today really is about whatever question you have, feel free to ask me and I will do my very best to answer it in the time that we have. Okay, so this is your time. I've put this aside to help you. I've had a couple of people ask me questions, so I'm going to look at my phone for a second because I've got the questions in there. So I'm not being rude, but it's easier for me to look at them here than to change screens on my laptop. But in the meantime, whilst I'm looking at this question, if there is something you want to ask me, feel free to pop it in the comments below and I will answer it for you. Any relationship, it could be a parenting relationship, it could be obviously an intimate relationship, same-sex couple relationship, a work relationship, your relationship with you. These are all, see, this is one thing that I really want to point out for those of you who are watching. I've just nominated about 5 or 6 different types of relationships, right? Here's where what I'm teaching is so cool. It doesn't matter what relationship I'm talking about, the answer is the same. Okay? Doesn't matter. Same answer for any one of those relationships. The one with you, the one with a colleague at work, the one with an in-law, your child, friend. Doesn't matter. The answer is the same. So this is what is so life-changing. This is what is so wonderful for people, is that once they learn this, they take that learning, that understanding, that knowing into any and every situation in their life. And it's like they just come back to the knowing. It's all they need. They come back to the understanding and then they go, okay, I can use that here, 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 here. I don't need a different solution. It's one solution for every type of relationship. And that is what makes things easier, simpler, keeps people calmer, gives people a greater sense of hope. Hope is very important, right? Gives people a greater sense of hope and an ability to know that they can handle anything that comes their way, which is what has people feel calm. All right. And I know we're all looking for a sense of calm. I can tell you that right now because this is what I am. This is what I see each and every day. Fiona, yes, the past. That's right. You resonate with this. The past does not make us. Absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't. So, so today is, have a think about what you want to ask me. I'm going to bring up the a couple of the questions that were sent to me earlier this week whilst you're doing that. So I had a lady send me in a question, and her question was, Fiona, what do I do when I seem to, and I'm just reading it out here, what does it mean when I seem to keep attracting the same people and the same kind of situations? So she said, what is it that I'm not seeing about men who really are emotionally unavailable? Okay, what is it that I'm not seeing about emotionally unavailable men? So where I seem to attract the same thing. I date someone and they just want it to be friends with benefits. Okay, so this is her question, and really this is something that happens both ways. Okay, so it could be a female who or a male who seems to be attracting the same type of thing. Hey, Cameron, I've seen your question. I will come back to that next. Okay, so my response to that first and foremost is, if you are having this same pattern repeating in your life, right? And I see this all the time. If you have the same pattern repeating in your life, then there is a lesson that you are not learning. Okay, because this is how the universe works. This is how life works. We are here to evolve and expand. So if you keep having the same thing happening in your life, it means that you're not learning the lesson you need to learn. Because as soon as you learn that lesson doesn't show up. Okay, it's done. You learn the next one. All right, because this is the school of life. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. We are here to expand. But if you are not learning and growing when these lessons show up, and that doesn't mean right or wrong, good or bad, it's just what happens is sometimes the lesson appears, we don't see what the lesson is we need to learn, we do the thing we've always done, for example, and so the lesson shows up again because the universe is saying to you, hey, little human, you're here to learn and grow. and I'm committed to your learning and your growth. So I'm going to keep popping lessons in front of you. And if you choose, because we all have free will, we can all choose whatever we want, right? If you choose not to learn that lesson, and again, don't hear this as blame, right, wrong, fault. This is a made-up thing that we put into life that just smashes us into the ground. So I'm not talking about blame, right, wrong, or fault. I'm just talking about, have you learned it or not? And if you haven't, that's okay. Another opportunity will come for you to learn that lesson, because that's what happens. The universe is abundant, right? It's abundant in opportunities for you to learn. So it's like, oh, you didn't choose to learn the lesson that time? That's okay. Here's another opportunity. It's infinitely patient, infinitely loving, but it will keep placing that same opportunity to learn in front of you until you learn it. Because this is the ultimate definition of the universe having your back. It's committed to your learning and your growth. Okay? Whereas sometimes the little human is not so committed to their learning and their growth. The little human just wants things to stay the same. It doesn't want things to change. It doesn't like uncertainty, and it doesn't want things to be difficult. So in that space, sometimes we choose not to learn the lesson. Okay? And we've all done that. We've all been there, me included. So the first thing I would say to you, honey, is you are being offered an opportunity to learn a lesson here. And I would encourage you to sit back and reflect on, what is it I'm not seeing? What is the lesson that I'm here to learn that I am not noticing or recognizing here? Because there is one. And I would just sit with that and allow that to show up. You don't need to work it out. You just need to allow that to show up. Be reflective. Sit with that and go, what is it I'm not seeing? Because this is showing up again and again and again. What is it that I need to learn? That would be the first thing I would ask, because there's something you're missing. Now, without speaking to you one-on-one, I don't know what that is, all right? But be rest assured, if there is a pattern showing up again and again and again, there is something you're not learning. Now, generally speaking, when it comes to our lessons that we learn, you either choose to expand into love or retract into fear. Okay, these are the constant lessons that are put in front of us, and it shows up. Choosing love shows up in many, many different forms. Okay, choosing love can mean putting yourself first and someone else second. Choosing love could be saying no to something, and you know what I mean? There's lots of different ways. Okay, and I teach this in my program Relatable. But what I would say to you is, there is something that you are not seeing around this, and you need to get quiet and ask yourself what that is. Put it out there and be reflective. Now, remember, when we are reflective, we are in the most therapeutic, open state of mind possible to us, and where we're more likely to have an insight. And it's insights that create long-term foundational change, right? And everything that I do is about pointing people to a place where they can have profound insights. Because when you do have an insight, the insight does the heavy lifting for change. The insight is the leverage point, okay? It's the leverage point for change. And, you know, when you have an insight, your whole reality changes, but in a really beautiful, calm, and easy way, not with lots of efforting and upset and frustration and pushing. It's a completely different energy, right? So it's insights that are the most beautiful thing when it comes to the quality of our relationships. And a lot of people don't recognize when they're having one or even know where to look. But when you do, things become infinitely easier. Hey, Fiona, it is about letting go, but that's because people don't understand how to navigate their humanness, right? When we know how to navigate our humanness, it's much easier to let go. It's much easier to move through fear. It's much easier to rest in uncertainty. It's much easier to deal with other people's emotional reactions and your own. So the really important thing here, guys, is the operating system of a human being is exactly the same. Okay, this isn't about men, women, not really. We've been looking in the wrong direction for a long time. What we do need to be looking at and understanding is seeing the sameness. And the great thing is, and this is why I say the only prerequisite you need is to be a human being, is the understanding that the operating system of a human being is exactly the same. So once you know how to navigate the operating system of a human being, you can then take that knowing into any and every relationship in your life, because it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yes, people are having unique experiences, but how they are creating them is exactly the same. And so when you understand that, you have a far, far greater level of awareness, a far, far greater level of emotional intelligence, a far, far greater capacity to listen, to come from a place of understanding, to be compassionate. And these are all wonderful, wonderful qualities and skills that are great for our emotional well-being and the well-being of every single person in your life. Okay, so this is what naturally shows up when you have an understanding of how to navigate the operating system of a human being. And I'm telling you, having that knowing is literally the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It really is. Having that knowing has been unbelievably helpful in ways and situations in my life that I could never have dreamed possible. Okay, so Cameron, my wife said she wants to leave me and I'm absolutely devastated. I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I really, really am. Cameron, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. Is there a question that you have for me around that? Is there something that I can assist you with around that? Feel free to let me know. I can, I've certainly come across this many, 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 many times. Thanks for the comment, Carly. What is a relatable program? So Kate's asking, what's a relatable program? Relatable is my signature program, Kate, which Carly has done. And I know Carly won't mind me sharing this with you. But when Carly did the program, she and her husband were separated. Carly was living in another property with her children, and 8 weeks after after doing the program or being in the middle of the program, they've reconciled. And I know when Carly started, she said there was no hope. She couldn't see any possible way, and she had been recommended by another therapist she'd been seeing that there was no way that she and her husband could really ever work it out. So she has had a complete and utter 360 from doing the program, and I could give you story after story after story after story after story after story, and I'm not exaggerating, of people who've had a very, very similar experience. Hey, Graham, nice to see you. So Relatable is an 8-week online program. Thanks, Natasha. Natasha's another person who's doing my program. Graham's in it as well. So it's a online program that I created that teaches you how to navigate the operating system of a human being. It teaches you everything you need to know. And so when you have that understanding, you can literally take it into any and every relationship in your life. Okay, if I could show you, and I wouldn't because I'd be betraying confidence, if I could show you some of the comments and questions, some of the comments, insights, and shares inside the Relatable private members group, it would move you to tears. It is extraordinary, the community in there, and that's another thing that you get access to when you do the program. The community is amazing. People have made friends all over the world and supporting each other, and are just loving this understanding and seeing just how beneficial it is to every area in their life. Hey, Roz, nice to see you, honey. Thanks for being on the call today. Cecilia, it's a little bit funny, Fiona, because your answers to questions are always what I've already thought of. Good for you, honey. That means you're tuning in. Good tuning in. Cameron, I don't want it to end. How do I navigate the next moves into saving my marriage? Roz, Relatable is an ace. She very skeptical. That's right. Roz was someone who was also separated from her partner, and they've now reconciled. So there's another one. I'm not asking these people to come online here. I'm not paying them anything. I'm not doing anything. This is just people wanting you to know how good this is so you can have the experience they've had. Honestly, the people are just this, Carly. Do the program. Look, Cameron, I just want to get back to your question, Cameron. The very first thing, if you want to, and I don't know where your wife's at, Cameron. Obviously I don't know what's happened, but you have to know how to change your flavor. Okay, you have to know how to change your flavor, Cameron. And what I mean by that is the energy that you're bringing, because there is an energy. This is everybody's biggest blind spot in life. It is. People have no idea of the flavor they bring. And when I work with people, that is the first thing people are absolutely gobsmacked by, is they see it for the first time and they're shocked. absolutely shocked because it's been this invisible thing that they've never, ever seen before. Okay, so there is an energy and a flavor that you're bringing, Cameron, that you won't know about. And the very first thing is for you to see what that is, because you can't change what you can't see. But I promise you that that is there, because it's just true for all of us. I was bringing a flavor with my husband before I came across this understanding that I couldn't see. So I speak from personal experience. But you absolutely need to know that first and foremost, because it will be one of those things that you unwittingly keep bringing in to the conversations, keep bringing into anything and everything that you're doing. And as the guys in my Relatable program know, we lead with our energy. Our energy enters the room before we do. Our energy enters the room before we do. So it's super, super important that you know that. Okay. And when we change the flavor that we bring, we show up so differently to the other person, and it has a profound impact. Profound. I cannot emphasize that enough. Profound, because we are energetic beings, right? And energy attracts energy. And so when you change your energy, it's like it has a distinct and profound impact on the other person. And this is one of the reasons why some of the members in Relatable are commenting here, because this is something they have experienced firsthand, and they've seen how differently how easily it creates change in a relationship, and how immediate that change is. So that would be the first thing that I'd be saying to you, Cameron, is you've got to know what that is, and because that will be getting in the way whether you've seen it or not. Okay. So I'm just showing some of these, some of the comments that are here, but that's the first thing. It's super, super, super important. And as you have an understanding of how things work, Cameron, you will find yourself feeling calmer. You will find yourself feeling less overwhelmed. You will find yourself with less overthinking, because these are all the things that happen, right, when our relationships aren't going well. And they're actually happening all the time anyway, but they certainly get highlighted. And so all of that will be getting in the way of you being able to listen, being present, and showing up in a way where your wife can feel you, if that makes sense. Okay? Excuse me. So that's super, super, super important. That would be the very, very first things I'll be looking at. Don't fill your head with lots and lots of information. You have to know how to bring something different when you're communicating. It's not the words that have the most impact, it's the feeling you are in when you say them. See, so many times when we're looking at relationships, we are focusing on the words as if the words are the most important thing. And yes, the words matter, but if the feeling behind the words is not a match, your words will mean nothing. You will get no traction. None. Okay? Absolutely none. And so the traction comes from the feeling you are in. The traction comes from the energy that you bring. Okay, so this is super, super, super important, and it made it so much easier, because I know so many people who get really in their heads trying to think the right words and the right thing to say, but it's the energy that is the driving force behind that. So when you're tuned in and you understand how to navigate this, and you're bringing a different flavor, this will have a very, very, very big impact on your wife. Now, I don't know how, because this is slightly different for everybody, but it is your greatest asset. And it is one of those untapped assets that we have that people don't understand and therefore don't utilize. Hey, Annie, thanks for your comment. Yes, I do have an ebook. That's also a great place to start. So if you haven't read my ebook, Cameron, I highly recommend you start there. But the other thing is, I would join my Relatable program, and you'll get all the answers to everything you need. And even if things don't work out with your wife, it will help you navigate everything moving forward in a completely different way, where you're in a much higher level of well-being as you move through something that's really challenging. Okay. Cameron, if I can recommend something to you, do not try and get your wife to do anything right now. I'm telling you, that will blow up in your face. Because if you try and convince her, listen to the message that you're saying. Just think about the message that you're saying if you're asking her to do one of my courses and she said she wants to leave the marriage. I really want you to think about what is the message that you're giving her. And whilst you're thinking about that, Cameron, something that I want to say to everybody here. You are far more powerful than you realize. Far, far, far more powerful, right? You're far more powerful than you realize. Far more powerful. So you have the power to influence and create change. And people are shocked by this when they see it, but it's true. Then you realize. So one person, right, has the capacity to influence and create change far more than they ever realized. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Graham's just answered the question. You're telling her, by asking her to do this, you're telling her that she's the problem, right? That's just going to make her want to leave even more. Now, I realize that's not your intention, Cameron, but that's the message you're giving is actually you want to leave, you go fix yourself, you go do the program, right? She will get very defensive and upset by that, and that will blow up in your face. That is what I firmly believe will happen. However, if you are the one that says, I'm going to do whatever it takes, I'm going to do this irrespective of whether we get to the other side of this or not, I'm going to give whatever it is a go, and you bring that to your wife, that's far, far, far more impactful than asking her to do a program because she wants to leave the marriage. You're also telling her that you don't understand what's going on for her. And I'm going to imagine you have to understand when marriages break down or relationships break down, it's because goodwill is very, very, very low. That will not help create more goodwill, Cameron. It will just destroy it even more. And so I strongly recommend you don't do that. This has to be, you have to realize that this is you. This is yours. And I know this is not easy and I'm speaking to everybody here. You have to understand the world is your mirror. Everything in life is your mirror. Everything. Don't hear fault. I'm not talking about fault. Okay? I'm talking about the fact that everything is a mirror. Everything is a reflection of you. Everything. Now, when you have the humility to see that and you live your life from that place, it's very easy to know what to do. It's very easy to correct and do what needs to be done in the moment, in the now, when you need it the most. Okay? It's much, much easier to do that. So when you see that, that's when you have the biggest chance to make the biggest difference. And this is why I can't emphasize this enough. You know, you are far more powerful than you understand. Far more powerful. And when you see that, it's life-changing. It's this massive weight off your shoulders. You're able to put a massive mental load down because so many people live their lives at the mercy of life. They do. And I'm putting my hand up, that used to be me, living their life at the mercy of life. So as long as this person's in a good mood, I'm okay. As long as things are going well at work, I'm okay. As long as my children are well behaved, I'm okay. As long as I have enough money in the bank, I'm okay. Right? So you're very much at the mercy of life. This is why there is so much suffering in the world. Because when it feels like you are at the mercy of something else, you feel stuck, you feel powerless, you feel hopeless, you overthink, you try and control, or you shut down and you retreat. None of those things are helpful in the relationship space. And they very, very much impact the flavor or the energy that you bring. They have a massive, massive impact on the flavor and the energy that you bring. Okay? So you got to know how to read yourself. You got to know how to read the other person. But that's easy because all you need to know is the operating system of a human being, and then you can read anybody. Really, you can. Trust me on that. You can. Okay? So it's very, very, very important that you see and go take on board and realize I am the one that can create change. I am the creator of my experience. I am the creator of everything. When you see that, again, this isn't about blame, right, wrong. It gives you a sense of empowerment when something out here is going pear-shaped or not going the way you want. Because as you've probably heard me say in the past, life is a contact sport. Okay, it is. And just when you think things are going well and you've got it together, boom, something comes out of nowhere, right, and knocks you for six or knocks you for sideways. So it's absolutely crucial that you see you have the power to create change, no matter what is going on in your life, no matter what you are facing. I really want you to know that. You have the power to have a different experience around that thing, whatever it is you do. And once you understand how to navigate your own operating system, you will see the truth in what I'm pointing to. And it's the most freeing thing in the world. Emotional freedom, that's how you get it. When you stop living your life at the mercy of life, okay? You have to understand, you are not responding to the world. The world is always responding to you. Always, always, no exceptions. Okay? I'm going to say that again. You are not responding to the world. The world is responding to you. That is just how it works. Okay? That's how it works. Now, when you see that and you start to live your life from that place, life becomes infinitely easier. We slow down internally. We slow down internally. They are really easy, Fiona, I promise you. They actually are. They really are. Ask any of my clients and they will tell you it is that easy. Relationships are actually very, very easy. They are. It's a complete myth that they require hard work, that they're complicated, that they're difficult. I promise you they're easy. Human beings are nowhere near as complicated as we think they are. And when you understand the operating system of a human being, they become infinitely easier. They really do. They are easy. I know they look complicated, but we have a lot of complicated information out there that's very, very misleading, that gets in the way, that takes people down the wrong path, right? And I agree, you've got to be true to yourself, but a lot of people do not know, okay, when or how to do that because they're so tuned out, right? One of the things you got to know is how to tune in. Another thing that I teach in the program, because then you know when you're tuned in and you know when you're tuned out, right? And you can factor that in to the response that you're getting. And you can come from a completely different place. You're starting to get it, Cameron? Okay, good. All right, cool. I'd love you to share with me what you're starting to get. What are you getting from what I'm sharing? I'd love to know. Not because I'm testing you, just because I want to see whether what I'm saying is coming across and whether I need to change it up a little bit. So, Annie, Fiona, I'm nearly 60 and still cannot find my voice in any of my relationships, family, friends, and even the gas heater guy that wasn't wearing a mask this morning when he serviced our gas heater today. How do I find my voice? That's a really awesome question, Annie. Really great question, and thank you so much for asking it. You find your voice by tuning in, Annie. I'm going to imagine if you haven't found your voice, you're living your life from the place that I mentioned before, right? Trying to make sure everybody else is okay so you can be okay. Now, when we live our life that way, so in other words, at the mercy of somebody else or life, we constantly adjust ourselves, don't we? We're adjusting to that, to that, to that. We're in a constant adjustment mode. How are you going to find your voice when you're constantly adjusting to everybody else? It's not possible, right? Because you are constantly changing to meet this. It's like being a chameleon. Because you think if everyone else can be okay, I can be okay. That's not how it works, Annie, right? It's not how it works. You got to stop doing that, honey. You got to find your own power, stand in your own truth, and start honoring it. Because when you do that, the people around you will honor you. Remember, everything is a mirror. If you're not honoring you, then the people around you will not do so. Okay? I have a couple of people in Relatable who had the same story as you. And in particular, a lady in the UK who very, very exactly the same, Annie. And this is the thing that she's learned from Relatable, from the program, is she's found her voice. She knows how to honor herself, and she's seeing enormous change in the quality of her relationships and the quality of her life. Because when you sacrifice yourself, you are not feeding your soul. Okay? You are going against your soul. So you're not learning the lesson. So at the start of this live, I said we are constantly have the same things that show up in our lives, the same patterns, the same situations, because we haven't learnt the lesson. So the universe is infinitely patient, the universe is infinitely abundant, and the universe will keep bringing those lessons to you until you learn them. So the great thing right now is that you can see, right, that there's a pattern here, because it's happening in all of your relationships. So there's something for you to learn, okay? And you want to be brave enough, Annie, to take the next step and learn it, so that you can honor yourself, stand in your power, and feel freer than you've ever felt in your life, honey, because that's what freedom stands like, when you stand in your own power and you do so without fear. You do so from a place of love and strength and presence and wisdom. It's the most beautiful feeling in the world, Annie. It really, really is. And once you feel it, you will be like, why didn't I do this a long time ago? Okay? So you have to be prepared to take that step, honey. And I highly encourage you to do. You're never too young, never too old. It's what you need, honey. You just take that step and you'll absolutely love it. You will fall in love with you. And as you fall in love with you, so will everyone around you, right? Because everything is your mirror. You got to be ready to take that step. Go for it. Really. There's a whole other level and quality of life waiting for you, Annie. It really is. Oh, I'm nodding and tearing up. Oh, that's beautiful, Annie. I hope this is resonating, and I hope it's impacting you in a way that you take the next step. Okay, I really do hope that this conversation has had you see how important that is, and that you're the only one who can change this. Right? If you're waiting for everyone else around you to change, that's still you, not coming from a place from where you need to come from. Okay. Yes, your energy and your actions have a bigger impact on your environment. Yes, they do, Cameron. More, and this is true for all human beings. And if you don't take the time to find that, you're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, or you're going to feel completely clueless around this. Like, I don't understand why my marriage broke down. I understand why my wife has left me. I don't understand why this has happened, right? And that's going to have you feel even more fearful. You know, when we have awareness, it's very calming, because awareness brings understanding. And with those things, we then have choice. Choice is the greatest gift there is. Okay? Choice is the greatest gift there is. That is what gives you a sense of empowerment and possibility and hope. Okay? Now, we are far more powerful when we have those things in our lives. All right? So, yes, Cameron. Highly, highly recommend that's what you need to do. I'm going to put the link to Relatable here, so that if you want to join the program, you can find out all the information there. There's people here on this thread right now who are doing the Relatable. So if you have a question, you want to ask them, this is completely unfiltered. I can't control what they're going to say or what answer they're going to give, but you can get real life answers from people who have done the program and experienced the profound shifts in their lives that I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what's on offer. This is what's available to you. Okay. And I have students all over the world. Carly here, who's from Canada. I've got students in Australia, the UK, the US, New Zealand. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversations. One of the most beautiful conversations you will ever have, I promise, really, because it's a conversation that helps you understand human beings. And when we have understanding, we are infinitely calmer, infinitely more confident. We have far, far more resilience. And our realities and things completely change in a way that is organic and in alignment with us. Okay? Organic and in alignment with you, where you're not doing something, twisting yourself in knots that doesn't feel right for you. Okay? And that's the most important thing. When we're learning something that is out of alignment with us, you will not be able to sustain that. We're looking at long-term sustainable change here, something that you can take with you for the rest of your life, that just becomes part of your life, okay? Part of the way that you process and see life. Yeah, thanks, Fiona. That's lovely. Never too old, Annie. No, not at all. Never too old, never too young either, okay? Okay, thanks, Carly. Highly recommend. So I will put the link here. Just checking you guys before I sign off here. Does anyone else have a question or anything that they would like some assistance with, where I can help them get a better understanding of where they're at, what they need, and maybe how they can show up differently? You know, understanding is the leverage point for change. Okay, when we understand things, we're not frightened of them, are we? Okay, and I always use the weather as an example. When you have an understanding of the way the weather works, you're not frightened by it. Doesn't mean you love it. Okay, we're in the midst of winter here in Australia. It's not my favorite time of year, but I'm not frightened of it. I just adjust to it. Okay, I'm not trying to resist it. Why would I? It's bigger than me, but I adjust to it. This is what happens when you know how human beings work. You adjust to it, okay? You adjust to things instead of resisting them, fighting them, getting frightened by them, and which has us be overly reactionary. Okay, and these things are what cause really big issues in our relationships. Cameron, I know I haven't been the best version of myself, and therefore I haven't given my wife and kids the best of me. Right, okay. Well, that's where you want to start, Cameron. You want to start right there. This starts with you, right? You want to have the humility to see that this is my journey. This starts with me, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. All right. So if this is something that you really want to do, like I said, join Relatable. I've got lots and lots of men in the program, lots and lots who absolutely love it. I had a lovely man post in the Facebook group just the other week saying he'd done the program, it had helped him immensely, that there was a lot of macho stuff out there that really he didn't want to do, that this has been far, far easier for him to understand and implement into his life. And, you know, he said, I went in here wanting to fix the relationship with my wife. And he said, the thing that I didn't understand that I would get from this is that the relationship with me has completely changed. And because that has changed, it's impacting everything and everyone around him. And this is what's possible for all of you, okay? Because you have to understand, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say this again because there's new people watching this. In relationships, there are 3 key areas, okay? There is your relationship with you. There is your relationship with life or the world, okay? And then there is your relationship with others. Now, most approaches to relationships are just focusing on number 3, your relationships with others. But that is not helpful if you haven't dealt with these 2, okay? Because it's these 2 things that determine this. It's these 2 things that determine this. So if you're just dealing with this on your own, you're not going to get very far. It's going to feel like you're treading water, okay? When these 2 things shift, the impact on this is profound. Profound. I wish I could put into words what I wish I could show you. I can't explain this enough. Now, most approaches are just dealing with this, and this is why it's so complicated. You've got to learn communication techniques. You've got to learn love languages. You've got to understand, like it's just so complicated. But when you have an understanding of the operating system of a human being, this profoundly changes. People regularly tell me they like themselves more. They've fallen in love with themselves. And they've done so in spite of themselves. It's just happened because they have an understanding of what's going on. They know how to navigate their humanness. They feel more connected to the now. They're not overthinking, overanalyzing, running fear-based patterns everywhere that they've never seen before. That has started to ease right off, and if not, in many places, stopped. And so they're choosing love more often than fear. And so they're expanding. They understand the difference between when they're focused on the me and when they're focused on the we, okay, and the implications of that. And so they start focusing on the we more and more often. They know how to get over themselves, right? This is huge in relationships. People don't know how to get over themselves. And so they get very stuck in their heads. They get very stuck in their intellect, and they keep justifying their actions, and they just loop. And then they come across as controlling or reactionary, as not listening, as all these other things, and they become blind to the fact that they're doing it. It becomes invisible. They can't see it, right? And so you can't change what you can't see. So it's very, very, very important, right, that you, as you understand this, these things just start to naturally fall in place, okay? They do. They naturally fall in place. And it's just a greater sense of ease and calm and simplicity. And that's what you want to be able to bring to, not only to you, right, to you and to the people around you, right? It's my pleasure, Cameron, my pleasure. Barbara, absolutely, honey. You should all want to have a better relationship with you, because that's where the quality of your life starts and ends. This should be like high on your list. It's not hard, but it is so important, right? You have a great relationship with you. Everything in your life becomes easier. Everything. Okay? So absolutely, Barbara, I'm glad that you can see how important that is. And Annie, you're right. It is about acknowledging those things, but people get very stuck in their head and those things don't occur to them. And that you might say, well, that's really obvious, but it's not to people, because they get really stuck in what's happened in the past. They get really stuck in the shoulds. They get really stuck in feeling disappointed. They get really stuck in feeling dissatisfied, and they stop seeing those things. They stop noticing them. They start living in a very different reality. And so you want to be able to know, again, when you know how to navigate your humanness, you will know when you are stuck. You'll know straight away. Okay? You got to know that you're stuck in order to be unstuck, right? And as soon as you know you're stuck, you'll also know how to be unstuck. You will just know. Okay? I promise you. You will have what I call a very deep knowing about a whole host of things that just starts to naturally show up, because that's what happens when you're tuned into wisdom. Okay? So it happens for all of us when we're tuned in. And I say this with love and respect. Most people are asleep at the wheel and they don't even know it. They really are. I say this with love and respect. Honestly, please hear me. Most people are asleep at the wheel and they don't even know it. So they're continuously choosing fear and they think they're choosing love, right? Some people have lost even understanding the difference between the two. That's how asleep they are. And please, I don't say this to put anybody down. I don't mean to be derogatory at all. I can honestly say that was true for me. I was asleep at the wheel and I didn't know it. And I had done every course you can possibly imagine under the sun. So I actually thought I was awake. Oh boy. No, I was just arrogantly asleep. So I was very, very grateful to have seen that and be able to bring something else to the table, which has profoundly impacted the quality of my relationship with my husband, the way I parent my children, how I get along with my sisters, my families, my clients. I can't even tell you. Okay. So you got to know, chances are, if you're struggling in your relationships, you're asleep at the wheel. And what you got to do is learn how to wake up. All right. Now, if you want to know how to do that, honestly, I cannot recommend my Relatable program enough. If you've got any questions, post them on here. There are people live on this chat who will help answer you from their experience. And I'll also put the link in the chat for you. Okay, everybody. Oh, that's my pleasure, Annie. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you saying that. I just know, right, and I am committed to this. You can tell I'm very passionate about it, that there is a completely different way to approach our relationships that's based on ease and flow and understanding. And anybody can do this, anybody, because we're actually built to do relationships well. We're designed for this. It's an inherent part of our design, okay? So anybody can do it. Anybody. We're all designed the same way. The operating system of a human being is the same. Okay, so, oh, hey, Ant. Beautiful to see you, darling. Nice to see you here, honey. So the operating system is the same of a human being. So once you understand that, you can take it anywhere you go. So if you want to know how to bring this into your life and therefore into every relationship in your life and watch the quality of the feeling you live in change completely, right? For you to live in greater well-being, a greater sense of peace, where you're not overthinking every single thing, where you're not yelling and screaming and reacting, or not shutting down when life gets tough or when people don't respond the way you want, then join us in Relatable. I promise you it will completely change the quality of your life in ways you could never even imagine. Okay, everybody. Now, I will be here at 1:30 next Friday. If you have a question, you can email it to me at hello@fionalukis.com.au, and I will make sure that I answer it for you, or you can post it under the chat here if you want to do that. And I will make sure I answer this for you next Friday at 1:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for showing up, for sharing, for having the courage to ask questions on a live feed. I know that's not always easy. I honor you and thank you for your time. Lots and lots of love to you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Ciao.